Hi guys, welcome to another tutorial in my Unity series. So this is going to be just kind of basic concepts that we have going on, and this will help you get started on your project. So today our topic is going to be basically the first person character controller, and so you'll have to go and create that. We're not going to do it from scratch from coding. It's going to be actually part of the standard assets package that you can find in Unity, and but if for some reason it's not in there, we'll show you what to do too. So let's say here you have a spear, and let's just say that's your character. It got to be a robot, it could be a lion, it could be a person. So first person controller will coexist with basically first person shooter games. And so in order to get the spear to move, even if we hit play, nothing is going to happen. So we have to tell Unity to move this based on a component called first person controller. So this is our spear. It's not connected with that currently. What we have to do basically is click on add component, type in first person controller, and you would click on the script. If for some reason that you cannot find that in your project, it could mean that you did not import it, and we need to do that. And it's a pretty fairly easy thing to do. So we'll talk about where that's located, and it's basically here in the asset store. You would click on that, and I won't go into too many details with that currently today. And the reason why is my internet connection is really slow, so we're having some issues with that. But you would click on that, and it brings up like a web page that you would find here. It would open up the tab. You can find it here once that's clicked. It won't be in the actual scene. There'll be an actual web page that pops up, and you could search for different assets. You would actually have to probably start an account, which is free, and if it's based on guest, you can just simply I don't think there's a guest account, but you would have to have your own Unity account. That's free. And so you would type in the search bar standard assets, and that would bring up the results. And the standard assets package is made by the Unity Corporation. It encompasses, or basically contains, different things where basically your first person character, your third person character, all the controllers that are necessary, and different things that you can play with. And so the thing is, that is a really heavy package that you would have to download. Make sure you do have a proper internet connection that is very fast. That way, it completes the download really quick. If for some reason you have a slow internet connection, don't be surprised if your download progression or your download progress bar gets reset, and that can actually be quite a chore to do, and so you may have to spend some extra time on that. So currently we have our spear, and so we have our first person controller script applied to that. If we basically push play, we can basically only go and look up and down. I could show you now. If we click on our scene once the play button is pressed, if I use the mouse, all I can do is look up and down. I can't look left or right, and also I cannot move. If I use the W, A, S, and D keys on the keyboard, you can hear me typing them probably. Nothing's going on. Nothing will happen either. So to escape out of the scene, just hit literally escape, and we go back into the interface here. And so what we gotta do is stop our scene. And so a couple things that we need to do to start off with is, one, we gotta adjust these numbers: walk speed, run speed, jump speed, and gravity. So for our scene here, and it could also always be different for your scene, everybody's character is going to be different sizes as well as our environments, so you may have to dial in these numbers a few times. So first thing off, I'm going to set walk to 1, run to 8, my jump speed to, I'm going to set it to 3. Actually, no, I'm going to set it to 4. And I'm going to set my gravity multiplier to 3. So this will allow my character to walk, run, jump, and also have gravity, so when I jump, the character doesn't fly off into space. Okay? So if I hit play, the problem is, and I'll show you here, the character's probably gonna move a little bit, but not everything we need. And as illustrated here, I can move, and that's all I can do. In fact, you can see the ball moving back and forth, left and right. So the problem what's going on here is Unity is using the camera that you have in the scene, but because the camera is not parented into the spear, the camera gets left behind. So click on main camera, hold the left mouse button down and drag it onto the spear. And if we hit play again, we'll show you the results. Okay, so now I can move around. I can actually look around. That's awesome. So if I click the W key, I can move forward. A, I can move left. D, I can move right. And S, I can move backwards. And you can also change the direction just by looking, and you can move. So this allows you to move around in the scene. And the numbers that I had adjusted before, you may have to adjust a few times. It's all really dependent on how big your environment is, if your character is going up steps, how big are those steps, the size of your character as well. So a bunch of different things. Now this does not mean that certain objects will be able to go through or pass over. The one thing too is that as you see the ground itself must have a collider. So that collider usually is a box collider, and you can find it just the same way as I found the first person controller script. You just type in add component and type in the search bar box collider, and you will have to adjust that on your own, but I will show you. Okay, so give Unity a second here. So if we click on our ground, you see we have a box collider, and if we hit edit collider, notice, and I know it's a little bit difficult to see currently, but you can see a little wire here. Let's see if I can adjust this. There we go. Adjust it just a tiny bit. So that just kicks off your lights. So right now our lights are off, but you can see the bounding box. This is your collider, and these little dots here are actually adjustment knobs. You can move them, and they're on all level planes. So you can adjust how deep it is, how wide it is. Most of the time when you add that into a geometrical object, such as a flat one like this, it should bound to pretty much close to the dimensions of the object. Every object is going to be different for a collider and an object, especially if it's not flat. You can get different results, but at least right now you can see that we can adjust it. That's going to be your basically your ground level plane. This is where physics will apply, so basically the spear will bounce off the ground. And it won't necessarily bounce unless you put in a script or something. It'll at least, it won't go through. You won't sink into the abyss, basically, is what we call it. So make sure that's applied. So currently right now, and we can get the character to move, to show you how to get the character to run, there's another key on the keyboard that you can utilize. So you would hold down W, and with maybe like your left pinky finger, hit the shift key, and you can really run. So you can run all over the place, and so that's kind of a cool thing. The other thing that you can do is you can jump now. So if we jump, I get a little bit of a tiny jump, and you can, adjust that jump. So that's why we had the gravity multiplier applied before. So if we go into our spear and scroll all the way down, go back to gravity multiplier, this is your gravity basically. So less would mean a higher jump. If you set it to 0, you may never come back down ever again. If you set the number too high, you may never leave the ground. So that's going to be some dialing in, And you can always adjust your jump speed, which is basically how high you're going to jump and how fast, I guess, per se. So that's pretty much what we have going on today. Make sure you have a collider on your ground, as well as well, here's the thing: is I would say set a collider to your ball, but the first person, a lot of people actually don't know this. The first person controller that you applied comes with a built-in collider, so don't feel like you need to add don't feel like you need to add two things. One, you don't need to add a rigid body, which would allow you to use gravity, so that way you don't sink or fly off into nothingness. The other thing is you don't need to add a collider for the spear, because the first person controller script will have that all contained inside of it. You just need to adjust the gravity, and the rigid body you don't really need to adjust either. But as you can see, there's a blue bounding box, and that technically is, I believe, part of your rigid body. But if it's not, basically if it's not bothering you, don't adjust it. You can adjust it if you want, but you may have undesirable effects, or you may just be successful. So it never hurts to try, but always remember to save before you make any drastic changes. But as you can see here, it worked. So that is your rigid body. You can adjust it if you click on the little knob, and you can fit it snug around the player controller object, which is the spear. So there you go, guys. We have a character. He can run, he can walk, and he can jump as well. And so this will not be a tutorial that you can basically pick up objects or shoot objects. We will do that on a later time. So, but thank you guys for tuning in. If this helped you out, please like, comment, subscribe, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I will try to respond as quickly as I can, and have a great day.